Hey everybody, my name is Pete Hansen, and I am creating this video as an introduction to my new YouTube channel. It's called Pete Hansen Football, and the focus of my channel, at least primarily, is going to be conversations with coaches. And by that I mean talking to some of the retired coaches, some of the current coaches that are been coaching for a long time, and then also eventually getting to some coaches that maybe are just trying to break into coaching. And the reason for this is, as I've gotten back into coaching a little bit at the local high school level, I've started to realize the impact that coaches have on players. And I recall my days playing and the impact that my coaches, of course, had on me. And then I started to think about, wow, a lot of these coaches that I played under or against are retired now. So I did a little research. I tried to find videos. Of course, you can Google any coach's name and you'll find things, but what I was finding was mostly things like articles in the paper about their retirement and some of their stats and things like that, but there wasn't anything recorded in a video format. So that's the gap that I see, and that's the gap I'm hoping to fill by creating this channel and doing these videos. So I'm going to be talking to a lot of the people that I have already in my network, and I'm starting right here in New Hampshire where I live, and maybe someday we'll go beyond New Hampshire, time permitting and resource permitting, but I want to start here because these are the guys that I know and have contacts with, and I'm going to be doing that in a way that's a little bit different. So I'm not going out to talk about X's and O's, although, you know, there will be a little bit of that in there because I do want to try to capture like some of the changes that these coaches have seen over the years. But I'm way more interested in their why. Why did they get into coaching? What was their journey like? What were the things that they learned along the way that they would want to pass down to some of the younger generations that are coming into football? I'm talking about things like values and principles, how to build a culture, you know, tradition, all those things that are kind of more soft skill related, because I don't think there's a lot of that out there. And more so too, I want to capture some of the stories of these coaches. And I can tell you, because I've actually done a few conversations already, I've sat down with a few coaches, it's fascinating. I've learned something new about each one that I've talked to. And we have a really easy flow to the conversation. I mean, these are some of the coaches that I haven't talked to or seen in years. And when I met with them, it was like we didn't miss a beat and we picked up right where we left off. And it's been easy in that regard. And that's how I want these to be. I want them to be authentic, real, unscripted. I'm not gonna do a ton of editing to these videos. I don't have great editing skills, but I do have some software, so I'm going to ask for you to give me a little bit of grace on that out of the gate, because I'm not going to spend too much time on that, because I really do want to look for authenticity and some of the things that they want to share. And you know, we'll of course talk about, you know, some of their highlights in terms of seasons that they remember and were really special to them, of course, and players. You know, not just, oh yeah, these were my best players, all stayed, all that stuff, but more so, which were the good teammates and what made them good teammates? And which players, or, you know, which players stood out because they understood the basics and all those things, being coachable, culture, you know, work ethic, those types of things. Because part of this too, as I, you know, talk to these guys, I've been asking them about, you know, what advice would you give to a young guy or gal trying to get into coaching and maybe starting out? Like, what would be some of the basics that you would hand down to them in advice? But also, what would you say to a young boy, man, getting into his high school years, and things that he would want to think about as he thinks about playing football, to get them in a position, like I always like to say, like, set them up for success? You know, what would be those things that you would hand down? And then finally, I'm going to talk to them about their legacy. You know, a lot of these guys that I've been talking to have been coaching for decades. And when you think about the impact that they've had on the young men that they've coached. You know, if you have a team of 50, for example, and you coach for 10 years, that's 500 people. That's 500 players that you've had an impact on. And then it just goes up from there. If you do 20 years, 30 years, you're talking thousands. And I know, you know, just to share a personal experience that I had with my head coach in high school, I went to Concord High right here in Concord, New Hampshire, and I played under Jack Gaddy and some other great coaches too, Bob Cameron, Don Poitras, Jim Davis, and others that I'm hopefully going to talk to. But Coach Gaddy, you know, when I moved here in 10th grade, and I was struggling. I played football, I made some friends, but I was really struggling and, you know, on the home front. And, you know, Jack Gaddy pulled me into his office one day, and he just sat me down and talked to me. And he just talked to me about, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And he just gave me some advice on, you know, what to do. And that, you know what, he said, you know, it's all going to be okay. Just keep doing things. You'll be okay. You'll make friends and everything else. And I have to say, I know that really changed the trajectory of my life, because he took the time to sit down with me. It had that much of an impact on me, a coach sitting down with me one-on-one just to talk to me about how I was doing. So I can't help but think there's a lot more players out there that were impacted in that way. And I'm hoping to, you know, shed some light on these coaches, and hopefully through putting these videos out there and allowing people to comment and share them and talk about it, maybe they'll be sharing their memories under their coach or under the coach that's the video is about. But I want to start that conversation, and I want to document it. So that's why I'm doing this. A little bit about me, my background. So like I said, I played my high school football in Concord, New Hampshire, Crimson Tide in the late 80s, and was fortunate enough to play in a couple state championship games under Coach Gaddy, and we won one and lost one. And that the lessons I learned from that, while painful at the time to lose my senior year, I reflect on it now with a little bit of perspective, and I realize that I learned a lot of life skills through that. And Coach Gaddy led us through that as well. And then I went on to play at Plymouth State College. It's now called Plymouth State University, so dating myself a little bit there. I played in the late 80s, early 90s there under great coach Lou Deloge, who's well known in New Hampshire here in these parts. And then my senior year there, I played under Don Brown, who's more well known on the national level, having coached at several Division I programs and is known as a really good defensive guru, I would say, beyond also being a great guy. And I was a defensive captain for him, so I learned a lot under him as well. And then I was fortunate enough to play a couple seasons over in Australia, and learned a lot there too, you know. I played in what they call the Queensland Gridiron Football League in Queensland, Australia, for the Toowoomba Chargers. So a big shout out to all my old teammates in Australia and Toowoomba, but also the guys that I played against down there, and made a lot of great memories. We had a really good team, especially my second season down there. We made it to the Sun Bowl, as they call it, and a lot of great life experiences for a young guy in his 20s. So football has really been good to me, and part of me, I guess, feels like I want to give back, and maybe this is another way for me to do that. So back to my vision. I'm going to be doing conversations with coaches, starting with retired and other longtime coaches. Try to understand their why, understand all the things they learned, document that, probably have some good laughs along the way. And then also talk about young guys trying to break in as coaches and things that they could learn, and start talking to them as well. And maybe have a conversation with them 10 years later and just see how things turned out. So here's my call to action for you. If you want to go along with me on this journey, subscribe to the channel, of course, Pete Hansen Football. Watch the videos. Hopefully you can watch them to the end, because they're going to be longer. They're going to be conversations, so they're probably going to be a half an hour or longer. So I encourage you to watch them on a TV or a laptop. It's probably going to be the best viewing, but your phone is fine too. Comment. So commenting on the video, the coach that I talked to, or any feedback you want to give me, but also, hey, you may know some coaches, again, starting in the New Hampshire area, but I'll be looking beyond that too. You may know a coach that you think I should talk to. So check out the email. My email address will be in the description of the video, and you can shoot me an email and we can start a conversation there too. So the comments is really, for me, is about creating community. And a community requires people like you to get engaged. And I'm looking forward to that, because I gotta believe, I have to believe, it's not just me that thinks this way about football and these coaches that we played under. Because again, I know from my experience, it had a huge impact on me and who I ended up becoming in the long run. And I really appreciate that. And I'm hoping that through these videos, these coaches can get a little bit more appreciation too. Because a lot of times, as you know, coaches don't get a lot of credit. You know, people only look at the record, but they don't realize the impact that these coaches have had on young men. And for me, I think they deserve a little bit more of that, and I'm hoping that these videos bring it to them. So, all right. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you along the way. Take care.